I've been connecting all morning with Kurt Cobain. I haven't actually had like that much of a full conversation with him until now. But yeah, there's a couple of reasons why he wanted to open up the connection. It's because he knew that he could, but he was also drawn to me in some kind of way. He he also like complimented my accent, and I was like, I laughed because I was like, I don't know how to take that. And then I started to ask my spirit team to strengthen the connection, and I described. I said his name, but I described who he was, and he told me immediately. Like I could sense it immediately. He did not like receiving compliments because I said that he was born talented and had tremendous skill as a creative being, and he didn't really love it. I'm shuffling cards, by the way, so if you hear that, it's just me shuffling my cards. Sometimes I'll pull a card or two. He just made himself known again. Sometimes I'll pull a card or two just to kind of like see where the focal point might be in our conversation for him, what he wants to talk about, what he wants to tell me. And just so you know that like I'm not privy to every single bit of information. He just decides, like, and it's like having a conversation with another person. They're going to tell you what they want to tell you. They're not going to tell you everything. It's the same when conversing with a spirit. You have to be pointed and direct if you want that information. He's touching the heel of my foot. Okay. So maybe I can jump around a little bit. Okay. So I asked him what was up with the stomach issues that he had, because I really wanted to know about that. And he said that, well, he's admitting this now, but maybe he did not admit it in life. I think he might have called himself empathic, and that is putting it lightly. Okay, he was a psychic kid. He was born awake, and empathy was his strongest sense. And he started to engage it around the age of 7, but it was to understand what was going on with all the changes occurring in his household. So he inadvertently opened himself even further to receiving feeling out what was going on in his environment. Meant he opened himself to the point where he was feeling everything all the time. Okay, and he didn't understand how to shut that off. He didn't know how to shut it off. He didn't understand what was happening. He was a little kid, of course, but he had things pulling at his stomach all the time. And granted, I think there were a lot that stress. I think there might have been, he just told me I might have had ulcerative colitis and something along those lines, like something happening within the stomach or the intestines, a colon, all of that stuff. Like an undiagnosed autoimmune, perhaps. But a lot of that came from his own inability to digest the emotions of everything and everyone around him. Okay. And nobody would be able to do that. Nobody would be able to do that. You have to dissociate in some way intellectually in order to get through your day as somebody who is like me, and unfortunately there was very little of that. He tried to channel it. That's all he did. He tried to channel it. He tried to tap into maybe the more denser subject matters that, like I know that he was interested in disease. Okay, he wanted to understand that. That also, he's saying, is one of the reasons why he wanted to connect to me, because he knows that I suffer from autoimmune disorders and is fascinated by specifically one that I have. And so he's upset that he was born at a certain time when like medical science was not as developed as it is today, But at the same time, he was born almost like this like unicorn in the world. That's how I see it. That's how he's making me feel, like I'm a unicorn. I can relate to fragments within people, but I don't relate to them completely 100%. Because I never met anybody that's like me. Okay. So I'm okay. Yeah. I'm going to say he's saying things to me that that might be well known to you who is listening to this, or to the masses in general. Okay. But he's just touching on it. Okay. It's not that I already know this information. I am giving him a voice to say what he wants to say. And if it's known, then that's great. But here's the thing. He's talking to me about this is very interesting what he's saying to me. All right, he is talking about the acclaim and the fame aspect having a lot to do with a lot of troubles, right? But he said that was like an easy reason, but there were so many other reasons why I was in turmoil, He started to feel more like a consumer than a creator at a certain point in his life. He hated that. He didn't want to be that kind of person. Like, he was meant to be this little creator, and he was an original. Yeah. I don't know if this is so weird that he's saying this to me. He's talking to me about me sometimes, and I'm like, no, we don't have to go there. But he wants to, because he's connecting to me, right? So he's my left hand is itching, so I'm receiving him very fully right now. That he's like, he's talking to me about how I'm a mimic, and like I'm a parrot, and I can imitate very easily. And I do. That's absolutely 100% true. I shared that with him, and he said, I wasn't like really strong in that area. And I told him straight out, I'm like, it's because you're an original. And this happened earlier. And that makes it, it reminds me of that scene in The Breakfast Club where the nerd is being told, by the bad boy that he's a genius because he couldn't make a lamp in tech, in shop class, So I feel like the genius of Kurt Cobain is still something that is looked at to this day because he was one of a kind. But he says the things that I was experiencing, some of them are not one of a kind. But I was pulling all of my creative inspiration from the ethers, and I was pulling it down, but it was through my own filter as me, the human. So everybody's experience that way is going to be different. Why was he he wanted to separate, he tried to lower his frequency on Earth because he wanted to disconnect from feeling everything. And so that's why he focused on those like disease and made music that was more depressive sounding, hardcore, angry, angst, because it balanced him out. He felt like it balanced him out. Like I wasn't so up here in the stratosphere, being, feeling everything and feeling like I can't get away from it. I was able to lower my frequency a bit by frequenting the denser subject matters that exist in the world, in the physical world, the grime and the gunk and the dirt and all of that, because there's a few of them. There's a few people that are well known that make me feel this way, that I've spoken to. He's showing up to me, by the way. He's wearing he's wearing a flannel. He looks a lot like how he looks in the MTV Unplugged performances. Yeah. So he's saying something about the acclaim again, but he's talking from now a family standpoint. He wants to talk about family. He was born to be a very nurturing person. And he wanted to have a family dynamic that didn't fracture. Okay, it was his biggest desire. So he wanted to make money so that he could provide for his own little nurturing family that he really wanted to have. Oh, by the way, getting back a little bit to because he just told me about this. Getting back to the stomach issues and the feeling everything. He also felt all of the lower vibrational feelings and emotions that exist. So he's feeling all the wide array of all polarities. He's feeling everything. So in a way, He feels like he's showing me that, he's showing me himself walking on a sidewalk that's completely like cracked. That's how he's showing me that he feels that that's how he was. That's how it made him feel. He was very happy to make it in the business of show or in the arena of Seattle grunge, rock star kind of. But at the same time, as somebody who is already able to feel the world around him and secluded himself quite often from it just so that he could feel his own emotions and not everybody else's, he is standing on a stage of like thousands of people in the audience, and he's feeling everything, all eyes on him, which is terrifying to begin with. For somebody who enjoyed like seclusion and being alone and being introverted, having all eyes on you is not fun. Now you're going to ask yourself, well, then why did he become a performer? He didn't really set out to become a performer. He wanted to create. Just like Amy Winehouse, she was so sick and tired of being followed and having the fame aspect. All she wanted to do was create. And that's the same feeling that I get here. It's this need to try out different mediums. But when he did this, when he formed bands, in the late 80s, he was doing it because it was fucking cool, and it felt good to create something with my buddies and just have a silly goose time or whatever, or get out whatever it is that we're feeling, or it's just kind of like this low key thing, and we perform at these like small little tiny bars and like dive bars and shit, and people are having a good time. That's how he's making me feel. And then once it got bigger and bigger and bigger, he felt more and more like a consumer instead of a creator. He got more, he was able to consume more, but it didn't make him happy. Creating made him happy. And now he feels like he's only creating excess, That's like, he's saying it's so against his very nature. But he was in it and he couldn't get out of it. And, who knows? I don't know. I think towards the end, he did want to leave and disband Nirvana. He didn't want to let his bandmates down, but he wasn't happy anymore. And the only way for him to get to a point of happiness is to move away from what has kept him unhappy, like to completely isolate like himself from everything and get rid of the things that he that really haven't been bringing him any source of joy, so that he can now understand himself and get in tune with himself. She was very much too in tune with everything outside of himself. And he was definitely an introvert, definitely an observer of life rather than a participant in life. And I can relate to that because that's how I define myself. He's saying that he really didn't want to die. He just wanted to be able to relax. He wanted to be able to have a time after this, what he feels his fame was a battle. And he wanted to heal from the battle scars of it and retreat and go away and settle into something that was a bit more familiar to him, something from before the fame, all the things from before the fame, just about, and he just joked. He's like, except not being broke, because I wouldn't be broke. But even still, he's like, even if that happened, I wouldn't care. I'd be, just living my life according to me. And he said, whatever I fancy, whatever I want to do, whatever gives me life. And I know that I gave life to so many people. I gave them connection. That's one of the greatest things. He's happy about his legacy, but he didn't want to die. He wanted to leave the being an A-list celebrity. He didn't want to be in the limelight anymore, and he was going to pursue that. He had to get off drugs first, okay, and then. At the same time, I think he did things in a little bit of a backwards way. And I think it was because of all the input of the people around him. He really just needed to be in like a cabin in the woods, or like, I don't know, just running, kind of nobody knows where off grid. Nobody knows where he is. Yeah. They all tell me these things. A lot of people who are like a Justin Bieber or a Michael Jackson. There are people that are that I've spoken to, and they want to completely isolate and go away. And they tell me this. So I think this is a common feeling if you are famous. I don't know what it's like to be famous. So I have to ask them about it. And they all say very similar things about it, especially people who are introverted and just want to be able to have, a canvas and some paints, a guitar, whatever it is that they want to do, a book for them to write. And they just wanted to be away from it, from all the eyes on them. So another thing, sorry if you can hear my air conditioning, it got hot. Another thing that he's talking to me about is that he needed to move from that relaxation state, the meditation, the recuperation from all of the things that he was experiencing. And of course, the drug use being one of them, the fighting, okay, the disappointment, Okay, he wanted to move away from the spotlight, like I said before. And he's saying that there was a lot of pessimism coming from it was okay. All right. Okay, cool. So the pessimism that he had within was being reinforced by, he just wants me to say it, okay, Courtney Love. And it wasn't enough for her. It was never enough for her. There was a constant fear of abandonment by her, not he didn't fear her abandoning him so much as she wanted some way to glue herself to him so that he would never leave her. He had then a very big fight with her. There was a lot that I don't even know if it's out there, okay, because it's personal. But he is showing me physical violence. Most of the time, it was her. Okay, she wanted to control every move he made. And you know what he's showing me? He's saying that, like, if I wanted to go off and be alone, okay, that was something that she saw as a betrayal. So, but it was something that I needed in order to survive. So she wasn't making things easier. She was pushing me towards a very cataclysmic time in my life. So there was a fight, an argument, something that really triggered a series of events. But he said that it was that he wasn't going to do what she wanted him to do, which had to do with money. It had to do with his career. And because of that, she was not going to have that. She was not going to have that at all. She was going to keep on trying to control him and what he wasn't allowed to just quit. He wasn't allowed to just bow out because she would not let him. She was an extremely controlling and manipulative person in his life. She was self-absorbed. She didn't feel for him. She felt things, but usually it was only her own traumas and demons and things like that she put first before any kind of compassion. There was no compassion from her. It was only her wanting compassion from others, wanting help, wanting what she wanted in the moment. And all he wanted, okay, and what he told her that he was going to do was he was going to go into a hermit mode and be away. And the reason, okay, he was very honest with her at one point about the spiritual path that he had hoped to go on. Okay, there was a spiritual path that he was supposed to be at this point in his life, right before his Saturn return. He was supposed to go into this hermit mode and be away and reflect and listen to himself and listen to spirit guiding him and connect with the ethers again so that he could create again. Okay, and it was all about him healing and him finally being confident enough to look closely at what had been going on with him spiritually, as far as his extrasensory perceptions and like super empathy. And he wanted to listen to that inner voice, his higher self. He wanted to connect with his higher self. He wanted to, because he had before. In his childhood, he was able to connect with his higher self to a degree that he was in such alignment. It's one of the reasons why he was able to manifest the career that he had. He didn't take any of it for granted so much as he experimented with it and said, oh, A, B, and C comes along with this. A, B, and C is not something I want in my life because it's stressing me out. It's putting me in a bad place. So, okay, I tried this out. I dipped my toe in the fame pool, and now I want out. So, but when you get to a certain point in your career where people are making a certain amount of money off of you, it is going to be very hard for you to walk away from that. But that is something that he was hoping to do. Because I have the Hermit, the High Priestess, and the Eight of Pentacles. So I need to go away and go someplace where I'm isolated, and then I can listen to my higher self, and I can connect with my subconscious mind, and I can create again. I can work again. Okay, I can work again. I can develop a mastery at something else, because it was limitless for him. If he wouldn't have been in music, he would have been a painter. If he wasn't a painter, he would have been a, something that fed him first and foremost, that he followed his passion. It was not something that ever, it's something that he did until he was bored of it, and then he moved on to becoming skillful in another area. So it was something he had to do to breathe every day. That's the kind of sentient being he was, and still is. He gave me a clap because he said I couldn't have said it better myself. But he's the one that's telling me. I'm just kind of putting it into words for you guys to understand, for people to get, right? Because he's not always speaking through like the way that we think that we speak as humans. He doesn't have a physical body anymore. So he's showing me things in my third eye. He's making me feel things. He's saying key words, and then he's giving me a lot of movies. I see like snippets of things that occurred in his life. So he just wanted to have his own focus back. Okay, he was very happy to be a father. He wanted to continue to be what he had sought out in the first place, which was a family unit that was not fractured. Unfortunately, it would have been. He would have repeated the cycle of his parents, gotten a divorce or separated from Courtney Love, and they would have, been co-parenting. But he told me that he realized that in that lifetime, as Kurt Cobain, he was not able to have that nuclear family. It wasn't it wasn't designed for him that way. He was meant to be alone, and without a partner, because very few partners could understand his need to be alone, nor would they wouldn't put up with his isolation. They want to share in something, but he has these modes that he goes into, and people don't really understand that. So it would have been, maybe if he would have been with people, it would have been until a certain point, just like in, his creative pursuits. He does it until it doesn't work for him anymore, and then he moves on to something else. I'm not saying he would become a player. I'm just saying he probably would have tried things on, and then eventually, after splitting from Courtney Love, he would have tried to have relationships, but then, eventually he would have settled into being alone and being happy being that way. Okay, like just being so incredibly like, wow, why didn't I do this to begin with? And there was a girlfriend in his past that he feels was his soulmate, and there's he's feeling like she loved me and nurtured me in the way that I was supposed to be loved and nurtured, the way a person should be cared for by other human beings, the way that I care for, the way that I hoped. I tried to emulate her. I tried to be that loving and nurturing to the people around me. It was a way for me to understand how I wanted to that it was okay to be that way with other people. He still has like an extremely like introverted, almost like, I don't want to say that he was like on the autism spectrum, but in some ways, he just is somebody who would much rather sit alone in nature and observe it than, or sit around away from the crowd of people and watch them, not in like a creepy way, but just because he enjoys it. It's something that he likes to do. He was always a people watcher, and he was always sensitive, and he was always kind. He was really kind. That's the sense I get from him. I think he needed a grounding energy in his life. Somebody that would help him to help him to take the creative experiences through his dreams, which he had, and even in his waking life, and give them form in this reality, so that they could take shape. Maybe I am talking about a muse. I think he did have several muses. I think there were more than several. I think that he was the kind of person that would sit and listen to a person talk about their life, and then boom, boom, like a couple hours later, he has a full song about it because he had been inspired to create it. It's not just coming from his own experiences, it's coming from the world around him and the things that he observed, and the people he observed. But he was very interested in odd subjects because they were fascinating to him. Yeah, I really enjoy feeling his energy, because I feel like he's helping me to like identify a lot of what I also experience. And that feels nice. It feels really nice. He doesn't want to talk to me about his death. Well, I mean, I don't know why he just put that song in my head. I all of a sudden, as soon as I said death, I felt him touch my toe, and then I heard, "It's the final countdown, And I'm like, why am I hearing that song? Like, what's going on? Yep. The only thing he wants to say about his death is he felt that it wasn't solely his decision. He's going to leave it at that. It was not solely his decision. However, it was something that he contributed to. So it's like half and half. And I don't really get that. He's speaking in an abstract way right now. I think because he does not want to get into the details. But when he left the body, he was like, yes. Like that's how I feel. Like it was like he just merged with source energy and he was like, yes, I'm out of it. I think there were regrets, but he ultimately was like, this is what I wanted. Like what I'm experiencing, I didn't even know it could feel like that. It could be like that. He's talking about being in the light, being one in his original form again. And I do feel like he will say one thing here. Somebody saw an opportunity to do away with him, and they took it, and it was all about money. It was all about money. And he is speaking very openly about what he wants to now go into his afterlife experience, and he's saying that I'm infinite. I'm infinite, and I'm growing, even though I'm not in the body anymore. I'm growing. I'm always growing. We always grow. We always evolve. We might do it at a slower pace on the other side, but we still grow. And he's talking about coming to making peace with his lifetime as Kurt Cobain. There is not a moment that he's not with his daughter, observing her in the ways that, just like he did when he was alive, observing people. And he's showing me that he works with, he's always connecting with artists. Okay, so he said, oh, wow. He said, so there were musicians in the afterlife that were helping me connect. When I was connecting to the ethers, they were the ones that were helping me to tap in, but also they were giving me they were giving me that inspiration. They were helping me to form those creations that so he's doing the same thing in the afterlife. He's connecting with artists that are still living and making that connection with and for them, and putting his own little creative spark or unique energy signature into it. But of course, it's through their own filters that those things come through their own these artists that are living, their human filter. But he's a part of it, and he's so happy to be a part of it. He's like, I'm still doing what I love to do. I'm creating. He's really happy about that. There's nothing about him that makes me feel like he's in turmoil at all. There's nothing that makes me feel like he hasn't crossed over into the light. He is completely one. He says, I might haunt people from now and again. I might show up. And people feel me. And people think that they might see me. And people have dreams where I'm talking to them or we're experiencing something together. And that's all real. That's me. But nothing about me is earthbound. I'm still, I'm fully completed when it comes to, when it comes to, he's saying my own salvation, like he's okay. He worked it all out. It took him a little while. But he was back and forth for a bit. Yeah. Yeah, he's connecting me with somebody that I knew from high school that OD'd. And I crossed him over, and he's making me feel like he had to take a similar journey. He's, like a 2-year back and forth, really kind of caught between here and there. But nothing that wasn't like preordained. Like he had to learn things before he could go through to the next level, the next process, right? So he had to work things out. He had to tie loose ends. He had to face himself and all of the choices he's made. He he had a life review, so he was able to see how he affected every single person. And he's saying that is something that helped him to cross over, okay? Not just seeing his life review, but all of the people that listened to his music, that came to his shows, that were around him, that helped him, anybody like that, that energy pushed him right over into the light. That love, that appreciation, that gratitude, he has it for every single one of you. So that is going to be it for now. I think he's going to come back and talk to me again. I can feel it pretty strongly. There may be a part 2. So stay tuned. I'm sending you so much love now and always.